pilot projects for setting up 500 megawatt, 1000 megawatt standalone battery energy storage systems in India under tariff-based global competitive bidding. Greetings to all my viewers who are watching this session on the upcoming standalone BESS battery energy storage system in India under tariff-based global competitive bidding. Prior to this and about a month ago, I had shared an overview about this upcoming mega project in the battery energy storage system domain. For those who have not seen my earlier video, they can reach out to me or visit my YouTube channel Infrastats LLP. Please do not forget to press the subscribe button, bell icon. Also do like and share this video in your network. Today I shall be sharing my views related with strategic planning and execution related with this project, satisfying the major contractual obligations to be fulfilled by the successful bidder or bidders. In project management parlance, this would be a high-level schedule or program which would be of help to young engineers who are thinking of making a career in project planning, programming, scheduling, and monitoring of large-scale battery energy storage systems. So let's begin. Seki or Solar Energy Corporation of India has received interest from prospective buying entities across the country to utilize energy source storage systems on demand basis suited to the requirements during the peak and off-peak hours. In view of the above, Seki has invited proposals for setting up of ISTS connected pilot projects of standalone battery energy storage systems, also called as BESS, for an aggregate storage capacity of 1000 megawatt hour or 500 megawatt to set to give uninterrupted supply for 2 hours. Seki shall enter into a battery energy storage purchase agreement, also called as BESS, in all future discussions with the successful bidders for providing energy storage facility to Seki or the buying entities as per the terms, conditions, and provisions of the RFS and BESS. The new bid submission date, which was 29 July 2022, and had been extended due to requests from prospective bidders for various techno-commercial reasons, is now over. Even as I speak, the bid evaluation process is underway, but assuming that the bid evaluation, including financial bids and the completion of the e-reverse auction process, is over by 31st of August 2022, the assumed start date for the project is considered to be 1st September 2022. This also is assumed to be the date for letter of award to successful bidder. The schedule program which has been prepared and is being presented is in project management software, but similar schedules can be prepared in Primavera or any of the latest project management softwares available in the market. For beginners and those who are not aware about the various documents that a planning engineer needs to prepare the first schedule, also called as baseline schedule. I am listing them out. The first and the most important document is the tender document along with all the annexes formats. Typically, they are called the RFS or the request for supply, or in many cases, the RFP or request for proposal document. The second important document is the BESPA, which is also called as the Battery Energy Storage Purchase Agreement, which is an agreement that is signed between the successful bidder or bidders and Seki, who is the authority calling the tender. This shall be explained in more details as we proceed. Since this RFP or the RFS involves design and build project, the design and drawings would be typically provided by the design engineers or the consultant or the agency appointed by the successful bidder to the planning team of the bidder company. For the moment, our planning, programming, and scheduling is restricted to high-level WBS, also called as work breakdown structure, and the activities within these WBS. Key parameters that are necessary for the planning, programming, or the scheduling engineer are A. Project start date, B. Various milestones or key dates, if any, specified in the bidding document or the agreement. C. Total time period for construction or implementation. And D. Above, above all, the scope of work either in brief or in detail. Supporting documents that he or she needs is design and drawings, technical specifications, inputs from the project execution team, vis-a-vis the various activities to be executed with their broad-based timelines or the durations. I now start by enumerating each and every aspect of planning and program. The entire project has been broken down to a high level or level 0 WBS as below. The first WBS is mobilization and contractual obligations. The second WBS is conditions precedent to be fulfilled by Seki before achieving financial closure. Seki here is the intermediary and buying authority who is ultimately going to buy the battery energy storage from the developer, also called as BESSD, that is Battery Energy Storage System Developer. Third WBS is conditions subsequent to be fulfilled by BESSD after signing of VESPA, also called as the Battery Energy Storage Purchase Agreement, but before achieving financial closure. The fourth WBS is design, manufacture, delivery, installation, and uh, pre-commissioning trial runs. And fifth and the last WBS is testing and commissioning, including scheduled commissioning and start of commercial operations, are also called as commercial operation date. For those who do not have any experience for projects under PPP, that is public-private partnership, or BOOT, that is build, own, operate and transfer basis, it would be worthwhile to understand the definitions of some important keywords as shown on the screen. As mentioned earlier, battery energy storage systems or BESS shall mean the systems or projects utilizing methodologies and technologies such as electrochemical batteries, which are lead acid, lithium ion, solid state batteries, flow batteries, etc., providing a facility that can store chemical energy and deliver the stored energy in the form of electricity, including ancillary facilities, grid support, for example. Such systems may be co-located with RE generating stations or may be operated on standalone basis. Next, Battery Energy Storage System Developer or BSSD, also called as developer or project developer, shall mean the entity owning or operating the BESS facility for supply of power under the BESPA and shall refer to the bidding company or a bidding consortium participating in the bid and having been selected and allocated a project capacity by Seki through a competitive bidding process, including the SPV formed by the selected bidder or consortium for the purpose of setting up of the project and signing of BESPA with Seki. Next, Battery Energy Storage Purchase Agreement or BESPA shall mean the agreement signed between the selected bidder or the BESSD and Seki according for procurement of capacity from the BESS as per terms and conditions of the standard BESPA enclosed with this RFS. Battery Energy Storage Sale Agreement or BESA shall mean the agreement signed between the SECI and the buying entity according to the terms and conditions of the standard BESSA enclosed with the RFS. Next, bidder shall mean bidding company, including a foreign company or a bidding consortium submitting the bid. Any reference to the bidder includes bidding company, bidding consortium, member of a bidding consortium, including its successors, executors, and permitted assigns and lead member of the bidding consortium, jointly and severally, as the context may require. Foreign companies participating in the bidding process shall be registered as companies as per the rules of their country of origin. Bidding consortium or consortium shall refer to a group of companies that collectively submit the response in accordance with the provisions of this RFS under the consortium agreement. Bid capacity shall mean aggregate project capacity of the battery energy storage system as proposed by the bidder. Buying entity shall mean any DISCOM bulk consumer or any other third-party consumer that directly or through Seki utilizes the BESS for meeting its power on demand requirements. Commercial operation date COD shall mean the date as defined in clause 24 of the RFS. Contracted capacity shall mean the capacity in megawatt or megawatt hour, X megawatt into 2 hours, contracted with a SECI for providing energy storage facility to the procurer for charging and discharging the system on demand basis, based on which the BESPA is executed with SECI. Contract year shall mean the period beginning on the effective date of the BESPA and ending on the immediately succeeding 31st March and thereafter each period of 12 months beginning on 1st April and ending on 31st March, provided that in the financial year in which the scheduled commissioning date would occur, the contract year shall end on the date immediately before the scheduled commissioning date, and a new contract year shall commence once again from the scheduled commissioning date and end on the immediately succeeding 31st March, and thereafter each period of 12 months commencing on 1st April and ending on 31st March. B. Provided further that the last contract year of this agreement shall end on the last date of the term of this agreement. Control shall mean the ownership directly or indirectly of more than 50% of the voting share of such company or right to appoint majority directors. Controlling shareholding shall mean more than 50% of the voting rights and paid up share capital in the company consortium. CTU or Central Transmission Utility shall mean the Central Transmission Utility as defined in subsection 10 of section 2 of Electricity Act 2003. Day shall mean calendar day. Effective date shall mean the date as on 90th day from the date of issuance of letter of award, or in case of delay in signing of BESPA attributable to SECI, the actual date of signing of BESPA, whichever is later, which shall be indicated in the BESPA executed by both the parties. Equity shall mean net worth as defined in Companies Act 2013. Financial closure or project financing arrangement means arrangement of necessary funds by the BESSD towards 100% project cost either by way of commitment of funds by the company from its internal resources and or tie-up of funds through a bank financial institution by way of sanction of a loan or letter agreeing to finance. Guidelines shall mean guidelines for procurement and utilization of battery energy storage systems as part of generation, transmission and distribution assets along with ancillary services issued by Ministry of Power by Gazette Resolution dated 10th of March 2022. Interconnecting point or the delivery point or metering point shall mean a single point at the two 400 by 220 kV Fatehgarh 3 substation of the ISTS network at the voltage level of 220 kV where the power from the project is injected into the grid, including the dedicated transmission line connecting the projects with the substation system as specified in the RFS. Metering shall be done at this interconnection point where the power is injected into. For interconnection with grid and metering, the BESSD shall abide by the relevant CERC or SERC regulations, grid code, and Central Electricity Authority Installation and Operation of Meters Regulations 2006 as amended and revised from time to time. Intermediary procurer shall mean a trader who shall aggregate the BESS capacity from different projects and sell it to the buying entities. Letter of award shall mean the letter issued by Solar Energy Corporation of India Limited to the successful bidder for award of the project. Pooling substation or pooling point shall mean a point where more than one project may connect a common transmission system. Multiple projects can be connected to a pooling substation from where the common transmission system shall be constructed and maintained by the BESSD to get connected to the ISTS substation. The voltage level for such common line shall be 220 kV or above. Further, the metering of the pooled power shall be done at the injection point, that is the ISTS substation. However, the voltage level of transmission system of individual projects up to the pooling substation may be at 33 kV and above. Some meters shall be installed at the pooling substation for metering and forecasting and scheduling of individual projects. The losses in the common transmission system up to the injection point shall be apportioned to the individual projects for the purpose of billing. PGCIL or Power Grid shall mean Power Grid Corporation of India Limited. Project shall mean the battery energy storage system set up by the BESS for supply of power on demand basis, having single point of injection into the grid at interconnection delivery metering point, or in case of sharing of transmission line, a separate injection at pooling point and having separate control systems and metering. The project shall also comprise of auxiliaries and associated facilities, base for transmission system in their switchyard, dedicated transmission line up to the injection point, and all the other assets, buildings, structures, equipment, plant and machinery pertaining to the BESS, facilities and related assets required for the efficient and economic operation of the power supply facility, whether completed or at any stage of development and construction, or intended to be developed and constructed for the purpose of supply of power to Seki. It is clarified that BESS charged using a source other than RE power will not qualify as RE power. Project capacity shall mean the maximum AC capacity at the delivery point that can be scheduled from the project. Buying entity or buying utility or discount shall mean the distribution companies and shall also include, wherever admissible, the distribution licenses or buying entity in any state or any bulk consumer who agreed to avail the battery energy storage capacity from Seki and executed or would execute the battery energy storage sale agreement from time to time with Seki to meet the demand requirement. I will now share on the screen the schedule prepared for this upcoming project. WBS, which was explained earlier, is displayed on the screen with major activities nested within each WS. We now understand one by one each of them. As can be seen to your left are the various WBS. The bold ones are highlighted here. ID number 3, ID number 11, ID number 16 are some of the examples of WBS which we are going to discuss in detail. These are the activities within the WBS for which durations have been assigned with their start date and respective dates. This is the bar chart or the typical Gantt schedule showing various activities in network preceding diagram with critical activities like this marked in red color. For planning and programming purpose, I have assumed that the letter of award would be 1st of September. This also happens to be the project start date from contractual point of view and also from planning programming point of view. The successful bidder to whom award given has to be on his toes on day 1. The first WBS item, which is mobilization and contractual obligation, is explained in detail. Mobilization is the process where the bidder and his entire team, along with resources, starts channelizing themselves into this project and begin the various procedural and compliance matters. It is assumed that the bidder and his project execution team and the management team are totally conversant with the project, the site location, the scope of work, technical specifications, etc. The first activity in the schedule which was shown on the screen was, I'll repeat, I'll display this again. The first activity on the screen with ID number 4 of the schedule is submission of application for grant of connectivity at identified substation and submission of copy to Seki. This needs to happen within 30 days of award of work, and it involves a proper application for grant of transmission connectivity at the identified or the designated switchyard substation to the state transmission utility or central transmission utility as the case may be. As mentioned earlier in the definition slide, the interconnection point delivery and or metering point is a single point at 400 by 220 kV Fatehgarh 3 substation of ISTS, that is the interstate transmission system network, voltage level of 220 kV, where the power from the project or projects is injected into the grid. This particular activity was necessary after studying the various RFS clause. RFS clause is displayed on the screen. This is a particular clause 7.8 where they have mentioned clearly the BSSD will be required to apply for connectivity at the identified substation within 30 days of issuance of LOA and shall furnish copies of the application as well as granted connectivity to Seki at the earliest. For those who are unaware about the project location, that is the Fatehgarh 3 substation, I will now be sharing the Google map with you. This is the entire transmission network for power evacuation, which is to happen in three phases: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 in the state of Rajasthan as identified by Central Transmission Utility. The Fatehgarh 3 substation, which is shown here, this overall network is somewhere close to Jaisalmer. This is a Google snapshot. This is the Fatehgarh 400 kV substation which we are talking about. It is close to Jaisalmer and the famous Pokhran range. This is another detailed blow-up map where you can see some of the transmission bays under execution, some of them completed here. One of the bays for this project would be provided close to some of these locations. Coming back to the schedule now, the next activity is deposit of success charges. As per clause 19 of RFS, success charges have to be deposited by the BSSD in the form of a demand draft or a pre-order, any FTA or RTS within 30 days of issuance of LOA. The whole idea is the selected bidder, who is the successful bidder also, has to pay INR 1 lakh per megawatt plus 18% GST to Seki towards administrative overheads, coordination with state authorities and others such as discom, STU, CTU, pre-commissioning and commissioning expenses. That is where this finds mention in our schedule under activity 5. For those who are new to planning and programming, I would like to repeat that these activities from 4 to 8 are all the activities within the first WBS, that is mobilization and contractual obligation. We now move to the next activity, which is submission of performance security bank guarantee and the relevant clause of RFS. Clause 18 of the RFS document says bidders selected by Seki based on this RFS shall submit performance bank guarantee or PBG for a value of INR 11,10,000 per megawatt per project prior to the signing of BESPA. Coming back to schedule, here I have given submission of here I have given a duration of 75 days. The reason behind this submission of PVG goes through various processes, including detailed verification by banks who issue this performance bank guarantee after due verification of all documents submitted by the successful bidder. The client here, Seki, has given time for submission of PVG prior to signing of VISPA, which must happen within 90 days of award of work, and hence, as a planner, I have assigned 75 days to this activity, giving 15 days more for Seki to check and revert back so that the deadline for signing of VISPA is not missed. We next move to ID number 7 or activity number 7 and its reference in the RFS document. Before signing of VESPA, Seki needs to verify all the techno-legal commercial documents and then they have set a deadline for submission of all these documents within 70 days of award of work, which you find reference here 21.5. Some of these sentences which have been taken out are because of various amendments that came during the pre-bid querying, and this has been highlighted here. Effective date of VESPA shall be the date as on 90 days from the date of issue of LOA or the date of signing of VESPA, whichever is later. For example, if date of LOA is 7/8/22, the effective date will be 5/11/22, or date of signing of VESPA, whichever is later. The balance 20 days up to the deadline of signing of VESPA has been kept so that any pending documents or corrections to be done by the BSSD, that is the successful bidder, and as instructed by Seki, can be fulfilled and complied with without causing any delay in the signing of VESPA. Coming back to the schedule again, activity 8 under WBS 3, WBS 1, that is mobilization and contractual obligations, is signing of BESPA or the battery energy storage agreement with Seki. Coming back to RFS clause, Seki shall enter into battery energy storage purchase agreement with bidders selected based on this RFS. The BESPA shall be signed within 90 days of issuance of values, if not extended by Seki. This is where, as a season planner, you should be capturing all these instances or all these references in various RFS and agreement documents into your schedule so that you don't miss out on various important obligations to be fulfilled before achieving a particular milestone or a key date, which in this particular case is signing of BESPA. Signing of BESPA is a major milestone key date in this entire project and is therefore assigned as a milestone in MS Project software at ID number 9, which you can see here. Every milestone is an event, so the duration is 0. As you can see, these are the various activities which get linked before achieving this particular milestone. All subsequent WBS and activities are related to this milestone and is therefore one of the important activities milestones in the critical path, as you can see here. Another important document agreement that is to be signed between Seki, that is the buying intermediary, and the final buying entity, which is called as BESA, Battery Energy Storage Supply Agreement. Signed copy of the BESPA agreement between BESSD and Seki needs to be submitted to the buying entity within 30 days of signing of BESPA. This is also captured in our schedule and it is shown at ID number 10. We now therefore come to the end of the first WBS, which is mobilization and contractual obligation, and now move to the next second WBS, which is conditions precedent to be fulfilled by Seki, Solar Energy Corporation of India, the intermediary and buying entity. Second WBS are conditions precedent to be fulfilled by Seki before achieving financial closure. Definition of financial closure was explained earlier and hence not repeated again. This WBS has few activities of importance vis-a-vis obligations to be fulfilled by Seki before achieving financial closure. We now refer to program ID number 12. As per clause 6.2 of the RFS, the project land will be handed over to the BESSD within 60 days from effective date of BESPA. The effective date of BESPA is at program ID number 9, and that is where this link has been given to land handover. Coming to the RFS clause, there was a pre-bid clarification where Seki, the tender calling authority, has made it very clear. The above land area will be handed over to BSSD within 60 days from effective date of BESPA. The project capacity of 500 MWh each shall be located in the vicinity of Fatehgarh 3 substation of the ISTS network in the state of Rajasthan. Land identification and allocation for the projects will be under scope of the transmission license owning the identified substation. Land will be provided on lease or right to use basis to the BSSD through suitable agreement with the transmission licensee, and the same shall be facilitated by Seki. Project land details are enclosed here with an annexure E. Land area measuring 13 acres has been identified for the two projects to be provided through sublease right to use basis at an annual lease charge of rupees 1 per plot. Each project will be provided a land area of around 6.5 acres as per the layout enclosed. The L1 bidder, as discovered after the reverse auction process, shall have the first right to select a plot for its allocated project from the two plots offered in the above area. Just to refresh everyone's memory, I will again take you to the location of 400 kV PGCIL substation at Fatehgarh. Plot for BSLD would be assigned somewhere in this area. The same has been captured in our schedule. Furthermore, as per clause 23 of the RFS, land arrangements of the project has been clearly defined and it is shown on the screen. Land identification and possession shall be in line with clause 6 of RFS and Seki shall facilitate in grant of land to BSSD. BSSD shall submit documents lease agreement to establish possession right to use the required land area in the name of the BSSD for a period not less than the complete term of the BESPA on or before the scheduled commissioning date. Wherever leasing of private land is involved, lease should allow transfer of land lease rights to the lenders or the Seki buying utility in case of default of the BSSD. BSSD shall submit a sworn affidavit from its authorized signatory listing the details of land, certifying the total land required for project and the clear possession of the land. Some of these clauses have been built into our schedule, which I will again take you to a schedule screen. There is another condition mentioned in the BESPA under Article 3, wherein the BSSD shall sign the right to use land lease or the sublease agreement within 60 days from the effective date of BESPA. The same is captured in our schedule at ID number 30. As you can see here, 60 days from the effective date of BESPA, which is ID 9. Now go to the next condition in the RFS, which is at ID number 14 on the screen. As per BESPA Article 2.1.3, it is the responsibility of Seki or the buying entity to obtain adoption of tariff from CERC, SERC as applicable within 120 days of effective date of BESPA, and any delay will be to the account of Seki buying entity, thereby entitling the BSSD to extension in achieving financial closure. Here I would like to throw more light on what do you mean by adoption of tariff. Whenever the successful bidder is appointed through a letter of award by Seki, it is appointed for a X megawatt of energy to be generated through BESS and to be supplied uninterrupted for 2 hours and at a predefined or agreed tariff rate. This tariff, which has been discovered through financial bidding and through e-reverse auction, has to be adopted by the regulatory commission of the respective state or in case of central grid at the Central Electricity Regulatory Authority. Now that this responsibility has been identified and defined clearly in the RFS, and that is where we are capturing this. Many people would ask, why do we need to capture all this in our schedule? It is for simple reason that any delay in tariff adoption will be detrimental to achieving financial closure, and there will be extension in scheduled commissioning date, which is defined here. Activity 15 been defined as an intermediate and a major milestone in tariff adoption, or else there would be extension in achieving scheduled commissioning, which we are going to talk later. This is a particular RFS clause where they have mentioned clearly any delay in adoption of tariff by the appropriate commission beyond 120 days after the effective date of this agreement shall entail a corresponding extension in deadline as stipulated in Article 3.1. Article 3.1, which we have already discussed, is predominantly related with scheduled commissioning date. This brings us to the end of the second WBS, and we move on to the third major WBS, which comprises of various obligations on the part of the BSSD, also called as conditions subsequent to be fulfilled after effective date of DESPA and before achieving financial closure. This parent WBS has further child WBS, namely project land arrangements and project financing arrangements, which we are now going to describe in more further detail. We begin with the child WBS, which is the project land arrangements, and is explained as below. Activity ID 18 under child WBS project land arrangements has its reference in Article 3.1 of DESPA, which is repeated again for clarity in yeah, here it is. Program ID 18 is once again repeated for clarity to define the responsibility on part of the BSSD along with Seki. Seki, having fulfilled its obligation of providing project land, including its handover, then puts the obligation on the BSSD to sign the right to use land lease or sublease agreement between the project landowner and BESSD within 60 days of effective date of DESPA. We now move on to program ID number 19, which involves lot of clearances to be obtained. Various clearances are required from central and local bodies, such as application for statutory approvals, permits, licenses, and clearances. All this has to be done in a period of 90 days from the effective date of DESPA. I'll just read out for all my viewers. BSSD are required to obtain necessary clearance and permits as required for setting up the projects, including but not limited to following: no objection NOC or environmental clearance if applicable for project, approval for water from the concerned authority as applicable and is required for the project, any other clearances as may be legally required in order to establish and operate the project. The above clearances as applicable to the project will be required to be submitted to Seki prior to commissioning of the project and if sought by Seki. In case of any of the clearances as indicated above being not applicable to the said project, the BSSD shall submit an undertaking in this regard, and it shall be deemed that the BSSD has obtained all the necessary clearances for establishing and operating the project. Any consequences contrary to the above shall be the responsibility of the BSSD. The BSSD shall also comply with all the laws, regulations, orders, and procedures issued by the appropriate authority applicable for setting up and implementing the project. BSSD shall be required to follow the applicable rules regarding project registration with the state nodal agency in line with the provisions of the applicable policies regulations of the state where the projects are being located. It shall be the responsibility of the BSSD to remain updated about the applicable charges payable to the state nodal agency under the applicable state policies. The BSSD should apply for all necessary approvals, permits and licenses not more than 90 days from the effective date of BESPA, which shall be complete in all respects, incorporating the clarification changes as required by the concerned authorities. All this we are capturing in program ID number 19. Here you can see the duration of 90 days from the effective date of BESPA. We now move to the next. Once again repeated here, but to be added in the schedule under activity 20. Submission of sworn affidavit listing details of land required and certification under clear possession of the BESSD needs to be done within 6 months from the effective date of BESPA. This is mentioned here, 180 days, that is 6 months. We now move to the next program ID number 21. This is a very major activity which comprises of project technology proposal submission to be made, and as per the format 710 of the RFS, clearly outlining the proposed technology, whether new or existing and successfully implemented, along with detailed project report detailing out the project configuration and proposed commissioning schedule of the project. This is where this submission has to be made. Declaration by the bidder for the proposed technology tie-up. Since this technology proposal submission, including detailed project report preparation, is a detailed and involved exercise, maximum duration almost 11.5 months from effective date is assigned to it, considering all submissions, corrections, revisions and final documentation needs to be submitted at least 14 days before the scheduled financial closure, which is 12 months from the effective date of the SPA. This finds reference in the RFS clause 22.5. BSSD will have to submit the required documents to Seki at least 14 days prior to the scheduled financial closure date. We now come to the end of the first child WBS distribution, which is under project land requirement. We now move on to the second child WBS, which is project financing arrangement within the parent WBS of conditions subsequent to be fulfilled by BSSD and is described in detail as below. Program ID number 23. The BSSD needs to submit financing tie-up report to Seki from all financing agencies at least 14 days prior to the scheduled date of financial closure. Scheduled date of financial closure is going to happen in 12 months from the effective date. The effective date is 29 November 22 and 12 months would be 30th November 23. Hence, you will see all these activities need to be completed at least 15 days before the scheduled financial closure date. You will see the end dates all coming as 15 November 2023. This finds its reference in this BESPA document where they are mentioned clearly BSSD's own cost and risk has to make arrangements of necessary funds towards 100% project cost either by way of commitment of funds from company or from its internal resources by a board resolution, or they should have tie-up of funds to a bank or financial institution by way of a sanction of a loan or firm commitment letter agreeing to financing. As mentioned earlier and repeated again, detailed project report needs to be submitted detailing out project configuration and proposed commissioning schedule of the project. All documents have to be completed within 12 months from the effective date. You have to submit the required document to Seki at least 14 days prior to the financial closure. Next, some of these conditions from RFS document. I will again take you back to the schedule. Program ID number 24, submission of evidence to Seki or arrangement of equity at least 14 days prior to scheduled date of financial closure. Again, financial reference here. ID 25, submission of details as per RFS document for funding from internal resources. Submission of final detailed project report. Having done all this, activity ID from 27 to 30 are all to be done at least 14 days prior to the scheduled date of financial closure. ID 27, submission of copy of agreement MOU entered into or purchase order with acceptance for supply of plants and equipment at least 14 days prior to scheduled date of financial closure. Program ID 28, submission of undertaking by project company giving details of all consent, clearance, permit for supply of power as per BESPA, Annexure B, Clause 1.0 of the RFS. Activity 29, submission of certificate by project company to adhere to technical specs and directives as per Clause 38 of RFS and Annexure B, Clause 3. Program ID number 30, submission of ownership of BSSG including latest shareholding pattern of the project company as per Clause 38 of RFS, Annexure B, Clause 4.0. Effective date of achieving financial closure, as it can be seen at activity number 31, which is 12 months from effective date of signing of this part, is the most important milestone key date in this complete project implementation schedule, and hence has been defined as a major event. You can see in the bar chart representation, all these activities preceding these milestones are linked to it. The whole idea of network preceding and linking is that any delay in achieving any one of them will affect achieving financial closure and also help in future monitoring, tracking and forecasting for any overruns. All activities from program ID number 18 to 30 on previous pages are linked to ID 31 to arrive at the effective date of financial closure. This is a very important perspective for a planner as well as a programmer who is preparing his first high-level WBS, because this presentation will go to the top decision makers both in the bidding company as well as with the buying intermediary, that is Seki, and the CTU, that is the Central Transmission Utility. All these parties will be demanding this high-level schedule, which will later on get further refined into level 2, 3, 4, or 5 schedules as the detailing progresses. From this point onwards, all subsequent WBS and their activities will be driven by the effective date of achieving financial closure, as you can see it here. The fourth WBS in this high-level program schedule is the implementation phase, comprising of design, manufacture, delivery, installation, testing, and commissioning. The fourth current WBS has following child WBS: A. Engineering Procurement FAT, which is Factory Acceptance Test, Packing and Transportation to Site. These are under program ID numbers 33 to 38. 33 to 38. Site civil work, which are from program ID numbers 40 to 46. Services WBS, which is from program ID numbers 48 to 52. And this is on the critical path. Installation and site acceptance test, which also is on the critical path. Permits and licenses, program ID number 55 to 60. 55 to 60 ID. Each of the above child WBS and their activities have been detailed out based on similar project planned and programmed by us and are generic in nature. The specifics are largely determined by each BESS company, their execution team's approach and methodology, technology adopted for implementation, and other factors. However, they would be by and large within this framework. We now come to the last and the most important fifth WBS in the schedule, which is testing and commissioning for commercial operations. There are various techno-legal compliances and obligations to be fulfilled by the BESSD before commercial operations can begin. We will be discussing the critical and the key among them as we go. We take you back to the schedule again. These are the activities within the last WBS which we are going to discuss now. Program ID number 62. At least 30 days prior to the scheduled commissioning date, the BESSD shall be required to submit a connection agreement signed with CTU. This connection agreement will be fulfilled after proper applications have been made by the BESSD to CTU STU for connectivity at the identified substation within 30 days of issuance of order. Since then, and for a long period of almost 20 months till the scheduled commissioning date, the BESSD CTU would be engaged in exchange of documents and making various compliances as demanded by CTU STU from the SSD from time to time. This was shown on the screen under the relevant clause 7.8 of RFS. Here it is. Program ID number 63. BSLD shall give the concerned RLDC, SLDC, Seki and also the buying entity or entities at least 60 days advance preliminary written notice of the date on which it intends to synchronize the project to the grid system. In the scheduled commissioning date without incurring any liquidated damage happens to be at the end of 18 months from the effective date of the SPA. While planning and programming as a good planner, this activity has to be proportionately positioned. This is what I have done. I will take you back to the schedule again. Here it is. Scheduled commissioning date is to happen by 31st of May 24, and that is where 60 days your scheduling basis happens to be 1st April 24. However, this is linked in a forward schedule coming from activity number 53. That is where the link has been given as 53 FS plus 1D. Now, program ID number 64 is a pre-final stage where advance final return notice shall be given at least 30 days before the intended date of synchronization of the project to the grid system along with comprehensive submission of LOD or list of documents as per the commissioning procedure of the SPA as per Article 5 of the SPA. We now move on to the next activity. Program ID 65. 15 days prior to the scheduled commissioning date, the commissioning committee constituted by MNRE, that is Minister of New and Renewable Energy, and or Seki will complete the site visit, inspect, and give their comprehensive checklist for correction if any, or give their final commissioning certificate before proceeding with grid synchronization and commercial operation. This has been identified in the RFS clause under third-party verification. It is under this clause that third-party committee or a committee constituted by MNRE Seki can visit the site and do the inspection and verification. We come to program ID number 66. Within 15 days and before the scheduled commissioning date, the BSLD shall make a comprehensive documentary submission as per various conditions of VESPA, and after obtaining successful commissioning certificate shall submit the same to the CTU STU for grant of grid synchronization permission. As discussed earlier and repeated again, this is under program ID number 67. The BSLD shall commission the project as detailed in Schedule 3 commissioning procedure within 18 months of the effective date of BESPA and as per Article 5.1.5 of the BESPA. I will take you back to the schedule again. This again is a major milestone which has been identified in the schedule and linked. As you can see, all the activities preceding which are of critical nature are being shown on the red color with critical path. Program ID number 68. The commercial operation date is the next date after achieving successful scheduled commissioning date and also the rate for revenue operation. We now therefore come to the end of this high-level project implementation schedule, taking into account all the techno-legal, commercial obligations. This video lecture will provide young planners with a complete foresight on the complete schedule, which later on they can develop further into L2, L3, L4 or even L5 schedule or any help that the readers may need in planning, programming or L2 to L5 schedule, they can reach us on info@infrastats.in or through WhatsApp on +91 98203 36218. We now come to the end of today's session and hope that you enjoyed reading through and at the same time trying to absorb some of the aspects of planning and programming, which we don't claim that it is possible in one reading. That is where this video lecture can be seen again and again so that you gain some confidence on the baseline of level WBS level 0 programming. You can also follow our YouTube channel Infrastats LLC. Please do not forget to press the subscribe button and like button as well as the bell icon. Also do like and share this video